Hey guys, it's Kelly in the garden, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about lavender in the garden because lavender comes up a lot as a topic when I'm talking to people about gardening. And I do grow lavender in my garden. Most of it is from seed, and so it will reseed and start new plants around it, and I'll find it crop up in different areas. But one of the things that people have difficulty is in keeping lavender happy. And I admit that I struggle with that too. But what I have noticed with lavender is that 90% of the time, if your lavender is looking a little cruddy and yellow down below or inside, it's because it's being overwatered. So just make sure that with the lavender, it really doesn't need a lot of water. I probably water my lavender about once every 2 weeks, but I do water the plants around it. So if there's any roots that are going this way, they're probably getting more water. And I find I have to be really careful about watching where that spray goes when I do hand water my plants around the area where the lavender is, because I don't want to overwater it. Then it looks really bad. So it can turn really fast if you overwater it to yellow and not looking good at all. And it's hard to get it to come back from that. But what I have noticed to keep things blooming really good with the lavender is to just make sure that you're deadheading it. And what I mean by deadheading is taking off those flowers like this one that have just gone a little bit discolored brown, and that one needs to be taken off. If you take off all of the spent blooms like that, then you're going to find that it's going to keep producing more and more blooms, and the blooms are going to be really beautiful and vibrant, and it's really keeping up on that. The lavender in my California garden blooms probably about 10 to sometimes 11 months out of the year, really a lot. It puts out a lot. And so you just want to make sure that you're coming in there probably every couple of weeks and just snipping off, some of those dead blooms or close to dead blooms. And when I'm doing that, I want to take, let me find one for you. I just want to take one that, like this one right here, just take it all the way down and cut it right there. You don't want to cut too low. Don't cut into the woody part of lavender because it does not like that. It's not going to react positively to being cut into the wood. So you can periodically go through and just cut off any spent blooms, and that's going to help a plant, a lavender plant, whether it's in the ground or in a pot, to keep producing more blooms. And it really freshens up the plant to get rid of those blooms that aren't looking so great. And make sure when you're doing that with the lavender that you go underneath the plant and take any of those blooms underneath that may also be faded or dead and not looking good, and make sure you get those as well. Another thing with the lavender is sometimes in the middle you will, or underneath, you'll see that the leaves are just getting brown and you have dead growth. It does help the plant to come in and just strip off some of that dead growth. Just be gentle with it, but go through and you can take off some of that dead growth that's on there. I did have my biggest lavender last year was just looking awful, and I think it got overwatered at one point, and I was worried I was going to have to take the whole thing out. How I did fix it, and it took a while for it to respond, but how I did fix it is by cutting off a lot of the growth down at the bottom. And I did cut it hard, and I cut it into the wood, and it responded, and I got new growth, and it's responded really nicely and looking good now. So that's just some tips for you. Just make sure that with the lavender, you keep it on the dry side. That's the biggest thing with lavender. And here in California, we can grow it year round as a perennial, and it lasts for several years looking good. My oldest one is probably about 5 or 6 years old now, and it still is looking fine and producing blooms. That's the one I had to do the correction on. last year and it came back and it's looking good. So, you know, hang in there if you have a lavender plant that's not looking good. If you go and cut underneath and trim around some of that extra growth down on the bottom, it will shoot up energy into the other part of the plant. And I think you'll find that, like mine, it will turn around and make a recovery. So it's not lost if it's looking really, really bad. Hang in there with a lavender plant. And that's all I have for you on lavender with the pruning, is just, you know, take that and cut it all the way down and do this every couple weeks with the lavender. And you're going to find that it just keeps reblooming and reblooming. And you can also try and get some propagation going and collect the seeds, dry the seeds, and put them in some damp soil and see if you can get some new lavender plants to grow. I've been able to get some going, and propagation is a way that you can do that by seed. I found that that is the easiest way for me to get lavender in my garden growing, is to direct sow seed or to dry seed. Let the seeds dry, and then you will get little seeds in top. When they're dry, you can take those seeds and you can put them in some moist soil and try and grow your own plants to set out in your garden wherever you want them. So just some tips for you on lavender. I hope this is helpful. It's not uncommon in the late spring, early summer for Aeonium's bottom leaves to yellow and brown and dry up and just not look good. That's perfectly normal for Aeoniums. They are in their dormant phase. They're not growing right now, and they're just shedding those lower leaves. And what you want to do every once in a while with Aeonium care in this time of year is just strip off those lower leaves to clean it up, because they do look unsightly after a while. It does good for the plant for you to get rid of any of that dead growth. So go ahead and strip off any of those lower leaves that are not looking great and clean up underneath, because underneath you will find that those leaves dry up and there's tons of debris underneath there. I really believe that when you open up that airflow for any plant, it's helpful to the plant and it's going to help it stay healthy. And so this is really important to do, is to clean up underneath that plant occasionally with these Aeoniums. Get rid of any of that debris that's down there and piling up, and just really clean it up. But that's all there is with Aeonium. In the summertime, the Aeoniums are just dormant, and it's perfectly normal with the Aeoniums. Don't worry if you see that. Not a problem at all. You just strip off any of that dead growth or older leaves. Pull them off, clean the plant up, and it's going to look a lot better, and the appearance of your garden is going to look a lot better when you take care of your Aeoniums in the off season. These tips with the Aeonium cleanup is helpful, and that you're able to apply it in your own garden, and we'll see you next time.